this week's episode of Running Down History. I am here at Arlington National Cemetery down in DC, and it's the first time for me being here, and it's extremely surreal. Now, I just got to point out, I don't make a habit of coming to cemeteries. I'm actually picking this up from JD over on the History Underground, his series History Traveler. He goes to a lot of cemeteries and is able to draw a very personal, connection with history itself. And I figured if I'm going to go to a cemetery and actually try this out, it might as well be Arlington. So I'm here. It's a little surreal, and I got to be honest, it's freezing. It's cold. The wind is howling, so I'm hoping that doesn't screw up my audio too much. But the wind is howling, and the temps are dropping to mid 40s to low 40, so it's a little nippy. So it's cold. But there's a few graves here that I would definitely want to see and be able to explain their history, as well as to hopefully entice you guys to look up the history yourselves. So we're off. So this is Denton Winslow Crocker Jr. And if anyone saw the Ken Burns PBS documentary, The Vietnam War, he was a featured member of that documentary series. His parents and his friends called him Mogi because his dad actually named him Mogul, called him a Mogul because the way he ran their lives when he was a kid. And Mogi just seemed to stick. Growing up, he was a heavy anti-communist as a high school student, and when he was 17, things in Vietnam were heating up, and he actually ran away from home until his parents would sign the enlistment form for him to join the army at 17. So he actually ran away from home, and he did eventually come back to his house when his parents reluctantly signed the enlistment form. And he went to Fort Benning for Airborne School. And as you can see, he was a member of the celebrated 101st Airborne Division and part of A Company, the 502nd Infantry. And him and his platoon were working up a ridgeline one night in obviously early June of '66 in just outside of Dak To, when a Viet Cong machine gunner opened up on the trail at the top of the trail, and unfortunately Denton was on point that night. Died a day after his 19th birthday. Now, like I said before, I don't spend too much time in cemeteries. The thought of cemeteries in history just, I'll be honest, never quite occurred to me. But you come here to Arlington, I'll be honest, it's slightly overwhelming. And I'm currently trying to find a very, very famous one here in Section 11. So it took me a little bit, but I found him. The one and only Charles Pete Conrad, one of the original astronauts.
Pete Conrad was not only a NASA astronaut, but also a naval officer, an aviator, as well as a test pilot. In 1959, he was one of the astronaut candidates for the Mercury program. And in 1962, he was selected as part of NASA's second astronaut class and became the third person to walk on the moon on Apollo 12. His space missions were Gemini 5 and 11, as well as Apollo 12. He would also be a member of the first Skylab crew in 1973. But this man's accomplishments are well documented, and if you're interested at all in NASA's history, he is a great man to start with.
So this is actually another one that I was really excited to find today here at Arlington was the grave of Ira Hayes, who was a Native American, served in the United States Marine Corps in World War II, and was one of the flag raisers on Iwo Jima, Mount Suribachi on Iwo Jima. And his story after the war is actually really quite tragic. He suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder and became a bit of an alcoholic, and that's how he ended up dying, was alcoholism and exposure. And yeah, really tragic story. I mean, you could really make the argument that Ira Hayes was just another casualty of World War II, really. All right, now I have been walking around Arlington all day. Seriously, since 8 a.m. this morning when the gate opened. But there's one more. And this one, I have to admit, it's gonna be worth the wait and worth the challenge of trying to find it. I will say this though, here at Arlington, right? If you look around behind me and everything, if you get off the beaten track, I mean, don't get me wrong, seeing the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier and seeing the Kennedys and the Eternal Flame, all that stuff is great and it's absolutely worth a stop and seeing. But it's even better when you can get off the beaten track a little bit, because as you can see, there's no one here. So, I mean, I'll be honest, it's been a unique experience because, like I said, prior to this, I don't spend a lot of time in cemeteries. I actually got this idea from JD over on the History Underground and his YouTube series, History Traveler. And I gotta be honest, JD, you were right, man. You get it's weird. I will say that, it's weird. But there is a strange connection you can make with history with cemeteries. So, big surprise today. Big surprise. But yeah, we got one more to go, and we're back on the move here. Here is the grave of Medgar Evers. Now, he was a civil rights activist and the NAACP's first field secretary in Mississippi. However, the reason why he's here at Arlington is that he's a combat veteran of World War II. He saw combat during the invasion of Normandy. And after the war, he fought for the desegregation of the University of Mississippi to expand general opportunities for African Americans, such as voting rights, as access to public facilities and economic opportunity. And because of his high public profile, there were numerous attempts on his life. And I think he successfully managed to escape twice of different attempts on his life. However, in 1963, he was murdered in his own home by a white supremacist, Byron De La Beckwith. De La Beckwith was not convicted during 2 trials in the 60s for the murder of Medgar. He wasn't convicted by 2 all-white juries. However, in 1994, he was found guilty and successfully convicted as new evidence had been found. And I have to admit, it's nice to see all the rocks lying on top of his headstone. You know, it means other people know his story and have come here to pay their respects. And tragic, and it's unsettling that we as a country haven't really moved on really all that far from the Civil War. You know, some of the biggest causes of tension during that war still remain today, and it's been over 150 years since the end of the Civil War. I'm really happy that I was able to find this one. Side note, I'm very happy and very fortunate as a bald man to have packed the beanie, because crossing the Potomac this morning, it was blowing probably 40, gusts over 50, and I lost my hat in the Potomac. That's how my day started. I think it was like 7:15 in the morning. So I'm very happy I brought the beanie, and I'm very happy that Arlington did not disappoint. I actually had a great time here. So, if you're ever in DC, Arlington is a must. You have to come here. Even if you come here to see the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier and the changing of the guard and the eternal flame for the Kennedys. Even if you just do that, it's well worth the trip, well worth the stop. However, if you are a fan of history and you know some of the people that are buried here, find their graves and pay your respects. It's weirdly moving. Wait. Holy crap, the bench. That looks too good to pass up.